everyone. My name's Cash Miller, and I'm the host of Emerging Brands Franchises on the Rise. I'm also the CEO of Titan Media Works. We do podcast production. Today, we're talking food, but we're talking honey-baked ham. I've got with me Scott Temme. He is in charge of franchise development. Honey Baked, if you don't know this brand, you have so missed out over the years. We are talking, especially now it's the holidays and stuff. It is an incredible product. It is really some good eats. Yeah. And if you have never been to a honey baked ham store, find one. Okay. Just find one because you got to try the product. Scott, it's great to have you on. Tell us a bit about what you do for the company and give us some backstory because honey baked ham has been around, for a while.
Yeah, Cash, thank you so much for having me and hosting me on the podcast today. I really appreciate it. And what a great intro. You're right. I mean, honey baked ham, home of the world's best ham, one of the most authentic products on the market today. I started from a very young age knowing that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, fourth generation business owner myself. But around college, I decided that the food service space was really for me because I love serving people and connecting people over food. And pretty soon after college, got an opportunity to work for Honey Baked Ham. So I sort of grew up on the operations end of the business. I ran stores and I left, came back, and I've been back with Honey Baked for about 6 years in charge of development. The Honey Baked story in and of itself is really a family story. We were started in Michigan by a gentleman named Harry Hunsler. He had a dream. He literally had a dream for a spiral slicing machine and created the spiral slicing machine out of a broomstick and a sewing machine motor and created this. And eventually our first store was there in Detroit, Michigan. Now we're 440 stores, still family run to this day, owned and operated by the descendants of Harry, but we're also part of 130 franchise families as well.
I think a lot of people don't realize that Honey Baked is actually a franchise. I mean, I've seen stores for years wherever I've lived and stuff, but it's that they are locally owned since they're franchises, and you've got over 400, which is impressive. Yeah, because I say to keep the quality, you guys ship a lot of ham. I mean, because Honey Baked is known for quality, and to be upfront, honey baked ham is not necessarily it's a little more expensive, than you're going to get from your regular grocery store and stuff. But what you're buying and the flavor and everything is also, you're paying for that quality. And so it is much better experience, than what you would get for, your average Christmas or holidays or whenever you want a ham, because, ham's good all year long. So, let me ask, first, let's start with the store footprint. Where are you guys throughout with over 400 locations? I know on your website, you got hot markets, you got open markets, but you got stores all over the country now, huh?
We do, and we're in just about every state in the lower 48. Not quite. We've got a few states that don't have a honey baked ham that's coming soon to them, but we're in just about every state. We do have some hot markets, and I would tell you, Cash, that how we identify hot markets is a mixture of where our market research indicates would be a really great place to build a honey baked store, but also where there's a lot of demand. So you might see Texas on there or California, some of the other states. We get a ton of interest from those states. So I'm in a lot of conversations with folks that might be interested in a franchise opportunity.
In a typical year, how many stores do you usually open, that are, let's say, because, we've got so many. I mean, just in an average year, what's the footprint growing at, what kind of rate?
It's a great question. I would tell you we've been a little sleepy on development in general in our brand. So for the last 5 years, we've only opened 3 stores. And part of why your podcast interests me, because I like to think of us a little bit as a re-emerging brand that's 66 years old, but we are absolutely on a growth pattern right now. We've got a mixture of some seasoned veteran leaderships and some new leaderships, made a strategic decision to go ahead and grow our brand and double the size of our revenue. So our commitment is 75 new stores over the next 5 years with a mixture of company and franchise locations, mostly franchise. So right now we opened 8 stores this year. We've got commitments for 23 more over the last 18 months. So we're really starting to grow in a meaningful way.
Yeah, no, that's significant. Yeah, when we talk emerging brands, sometimes, and I've had others on the show that are older brands, but for whatever reason, the franchising wasn't a focus, but now is. Like it might have been at one time, like I say, and then it kind of, for whatever reason, it slowed down. Now it's, hey, let's pick up the growth. I'm curious, because of how many stores, and it's a food product. What does the actual support of the stores look like? And what I'm looking for is, we're shipping hams. Okay. So how does the actual like infrastructure of a Honey Baked store work? Like, I got to order food. Where am I getting it? Is it coming from distribution? Because you've got a consistency in the quality of the product across, regardless of what store you go to, you're getting a great product. So how does it work on the back end?
Let me see if I can answer your question then, and then kind of take it from there. So you're absolutely right. What we do at scale is what I believe to be very unique in the United States. The Honey Baked ham itself is a very authentic product, meaning it's a very handmade product. It is still hardwood smoked for 24 hours. It is a no water added ham. That is very unique. And then it's spiral sliced to a very certain degree. All that makes it unique. And we put a lot of effort behind ensuring that Honey Baked ham is made to a very certain way. From there, we have a distribution model that brings it to the back door of the store.
Okay.
Once it's in the store, our franchise owners have the benefit of playing with a blowtorch. So they take a blowtorch and they put sugar on it, and they put some spice on it. It's wrapped in gold foil and then refrigerated for you to pick up. It's a lot of fun. And usually during the holidays, you can find me at a franchise location helping blowtorch some hams.
Yeah, just so you can use the blowtorch. Okay. That's awesome. I didn't know they did that. I mean, obviously you're glazing it and everything, but yeah, blowtorch. That's great.
And it's, it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit of food service light. I sort of in my early career was in full service restaurant. That's not what this is. This is food service light. And what's really inspiring from time to time is to walk in our stores and see some of the folks that are part of putting that Honey Baked ham, sugar and spice on it. It's a very handmade, crafted product. And we have a lot of wonderful glazers, from college age folks to much older, that take a lot of pride in the craftsmanship of making a Honey Baked ham.
You just used an interesting term I'd like to ask you about. I've never heard food service light. I've heard fast casual and all of those things, but define that term for us.
I guess it's something that maybe I coined, but we don't have grills. We don't have deep fryers. This is not late night drive-through. Our stores mostly are open from, call it 10 a.m. to about 6 p.m. So there's a little bit of a quality of life aspect there versus the restaurant business that I was part of in late night bar that we don't have. Now, during holidays, a little different. We're going to be open extended hours, of course. It's our time to shine. But you're taking a product that's mostly already cooked, and you're putting sugar and spice on it, and maybe you're taking that ham off the bone for a catering platter or boxing it up for a gifting order. We do have a sandwich line in our stores. But we have about 15 sandwiches. They're fantastic. If you've never had one of our toasted sandwiches, they're really one of the best kept secrets in the restaurant business.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too, because so if I walk in as a customer into the store, what's the experience look like? Because I think that's one of the things that the community doesn't necessarily realize with Honey Baked ham. I think walk in, I get this great ham that I'm going to take back to the house and stuff. And I've got, Christmas dinner or, some family gathering or something. And I want to provide this great quality ham, but you do have sandwiches. You do have, there's seating to sit down and stuff. It's got a little bit of a sandwich shop aspect to it, right? And I think that we don't realize this as much.
No, it's a great observation, Cash. Clearly, you've been in our stores probably a couple of times during the year. One experience would be during holiday, and I would tell you that we've transformed that and leveraged technology to make it a buy online mostly and pick up in store. So you're walking in, picking up what you've already ordered, generally speaking. Of course, you can walk in without an order. Now, that's what we call the retail experience. During the everyday meal period, which is outside of holiday, it is a little bit of a different experience. You'll see tables, chairs, and it's more of a lunch experience, but also it's a great place to pick up a retail order. one of the major new product innovations we've had is around becoming a specialty and everyday meal retailer, where you can take home a package of our sliders that are take and bake at home.
That's great. So you're expanding the product offerings with more things, just making it more often, easier for the public come in, get these other products. You don't have to always go the ham route, so that's good, sliders and stuff. And the, I assume the buy online, go into the store to pick up, the store's obviously got to be getting credit. So based on whatever store location you choose, that's how they're, you're collecting the payment on that end. But, so it's pay online. It's basically the same thing as ordering a pizza nowadays, right?
Yes. Yeah. It makes it a lot easier for the consumer to place that order. It makes it a little bit easier to pick up additional items. That's an important aspect. It also gives the store notice of how many people they can expect that day to walk in. So we've definitely seen a pickup in efficiency in the stores. Some of the legendary honey baked ham lines at the holiday, we've seen a pretty big decrease in that because we've just become a little bit more adept at understanding how many people are coming that day and how we can segment that.
Yeah, and everybody's so in tune to online ordering, and if they can basically walk in and walk out and they don't have to wait around for it, that's great for store efficiency, but it's also good for the consumer.
And it's also good for our franchisees just from an efficient standpoint. They know how to staff their stores a little bit better. They know how many hams to prepare. They pick up a little bit of efficiency from that standpoint as well. So we're excited and proud about that. We went the route of building our own technology. We have a proprietary point of sale. And then when the advent of buy online, pick up in store happened throughout the retail industry, we went the route of creating our own, which I'm really excited about the fact that our franchise committee leverages proprietary software.
Cool. Let me ask. Okay, so if I'm looking to invest, what are the dollar figures? What's the franchise fee? What's the store build out? Just like range of costs and things that you're going to be able to expect. And then even after it's open, what's the royalty and things? Because is there any kind of a marketing fee? I like to start there, and then we get into staffing and things like that to get a store running. But what's it cost first?
Sure. Full disclosure of all of our fees and costs are really located in our franchise disclosure document, which I'm happy to provide a copy to anybody that reaches out to me when I have a quick conversation. I'm happy to walk them through that. Now, to answer your question, though, some of these stats are available on our website, honeybakedfranchise.com. Total investment cash is about $417,000 to $718,000. That's total investment, start to finish, everything you would need from initial franchise fee, development fee, building out of your store, training, inventory, everything.
Okay.
So that's the total investment. One of the key considerations is how much sales can I do?
Yes.
Obvious question for sure. And in the franchise industry, we typically quote averages.
Yes.
So our average unit volume, you'll hear an acronym AUV quite a bit thrown around. $932,000 is what you'll see in our franchise disclosure document.
That is a pretty solid number in the food industry. That's not a full scale, like I say, it's not a fast casual concept or a fast food concept or anything like that. That's a really good number because, you look at, especially since you do like the sandwich aspect and things, you look at a lot of comparable, from that standpoint of things like Subway or Jimmy John's or something, those kinds of restaurants, your numbers are, seem to be higher than a lot of them. Of course, you're selling the whole ham. They can't do, they're not doing those things. So the sales
thing you'll see, sorry, Cash. The other thing you'll see, which is a little unique to Honey Baked, is that we actually quote profitability statistics in our franchise disclosure document.
Okay.
Again, I'm really proud to work for a brand that does that because less than 5% of the franchise brands will even quote profitability statistics. You'll see ours bucketed into 3 categories. And of course, our average EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, EBITDA would be 15%.
Okay.
So it really kind of gives you directionally it starts to answer the question, well, how much money can I make doing this? Which again, very obvious question.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's actually a pretty solid number for any food concept, so love that part. Okay. So now if I'm trying to get my doors open, what's for one, what makes the ideal location? How big do they need to be square footage wise and stuff? What does the franchise, the build out piece of it look like first to get a store up and running?
Sure. Our average square foot you'll see is about 2,200 to 2,400 on average. You're asking great questions that really our subject matter expert in the real estate and construction space would be in a much better position to answer than I am. But I would tell you that we offer a tremendous amount, in my opinion, we offer a tremendous amount of support and site selection. So upon signing a development agreement that would grant you exclusive rights to open a Honey Baked Ham store in your market that we had agreed to, you would be partnered with a broker, and we would do a lot of market research to say, hey, where should you maybe put a Honey Baked Ham store? When you got to a place where you fell in love with 2 or 3 sites, we'd start to do a lot of site visits and improve the site. Our interests align with our franchisees' interests. The last thing we want to do is somebody not be successful. Yeah. When franchising is at its best, when everything is win-win. Yeah. Franchisees are thriving, and where our royalties go up.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I've seen a location, it's usually situated with grocery stores, but always upscale. It's not next to a Walmart or something, right? It's going to be next to like around here a Publix, or something like that, and newer centers and stuff where there's going to be a lot of foot traffic so that the brand can get a lot of exposure. And that's where I've typically seen, and they seem to be, very successful doing that. And I'm sure, of course, demographics in the area and everything. That's why you want a team, helping you select the site, because if you leave it to someone that's never done it before, oh boy, So it's one of the beautiful things about a franchises, because most of them provide that. It's a matter of how good that team is that's helping you select.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're touching on a really important aspect of franchising. The lease is a significant part of the financial liability. Mm-hmm. And so you're absolutely right. There's a lot of requirements and assistance that are needed before you sign the lease. We're a little lucky at Honey Baked. We don't necessarily require an end cap or a drive-through. Yes, we have some drive-throughs that are part of our brand. We're not a freestanding brand. Yes, we have a few, but it's not really our model. So what you might call just an inline in the middle of a shopping center works wonderful for us. And there's a lot of food service brands out there that are looking for drive-thrus, and we just don't have to compete in that manner.
Yeah, that's a lot harder to find. And I know in the case of drive-thrus, there's some states that are starting to put restrictions on them, on the number. I know California is doing that right now, is they're looking at limiting the number of new drive-thrus that are actually built because of the traffic, the congestion part of it, that it can cause.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a newer development, and I've seen it with California, and I think a few other states might, be following suit. It depends on where you are, but okay. So how long does it take to, on average? I mean, every store, depending on how long it takes you to get this, to find the the site itself, contractors you got to work with and everything there, but is there some sort of average time or even a time that you shoot for and say, we like to be open at least, from the time of signing the initial, the final document saying, hey, you're going to be a franchise owner, to actually opening the doors?
Sure. Great question. We sign a development agreement that grants you the rights for 18 months. So it's about a 1.5 year process from the time you sign to the time you open your doors is what we grant you contractually. Okay. Now, of course, we would love for you to get open ahead of that. But really a lot of that is dictated by site selection. I would tell you, we put a lot of effort into site selection. We want to make 100% sure that franchisees love the site they're going into. We love the site they're going into. And then, there's also other factors there too. Permitting is hard to predict. Is one other example. So, and the timing there as well. So Cash, if you can imagine, we like our stores to get open a little bit before holiday. In the middle of the holiday, we believe is not so ideal. Yeah. We want you to get up and running and have some space to breathe before the holiday rush. Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because, if you can make it before, otherwise, because you're losing this huge period if you can't. So which is going to be, it's, a significant portion of sales, over the course of the year, because you're just going to have this huge rush. And if you don't have time to prep, to market that you're there and things like that, you're not taking full advantage of it. Yes, you'll get business, but not nearly what it could be. So that's a consideration that not every brand has to, worry about, but it makes sense. And we're lucky here too. We call ourselves a specialty retailer. Really, as we've already talked about it, we're actually a little bit more. Lunch is an important aspect of what we do, but so is catering, which is an extension of our lunch, and so is gifting. Gifting is really important to Honey Baked. Business gifts, client gifts, employee gifts. So one of the things you said was exactly 100% true. If you can get open a little bit ahead of the holiday, you can leverage all 4 of those sales channels. Yep.
Yeah. It's weird. You think about, hey, let's gift a ham to someone. People do it all over the world, of course, but it's like not necessarily the top of mind thing. But you do think of I'm sure you've got baskets and things, specific, to that. And there's plenty of companies that do, a number of, I always think of, Pepperidge Farms, forever have done, gift baskets and things like that. And I know it's not the same thing, but, there's plenty of people that give meat. As a gift.
Yes. Food's a great connector, is it not? I mean, there's something special about connecting over a memorable meal. And I think that's truly the heart of Honey Baked, is maybe not so much a specific protein. I'm actually a bigger fan of our turkey. I love our turkey breast. Our smoked turkey breast, I think, is just fantastic. But there is something special about serving others through and connecting with others over a really great meal.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so how many people does it typically take to operate a store, and what kind of training do they have to go through? What kind of training is the corporate providing to get a store open? And when you're opening too, because I've seen this with certain brands, they'll send teams out, to help that first week, operate, because everybody's like, you can end up with that, chicken with your head cut off kind of thing, because you've trained everybody, but they've not done it. So it's a little bit different. So what does that aspect of the business look like?
Let's start with the franchisee. So upon signing an agreement, we would require 2 folks go through our entire training process. You spend, let's call it a week here in Alpharetta at Corporate Support Center, walking through all the things that the folks at the support center do to support your franchise journey. After that, it's 3 weeks. So 3 weeks in-store training, franchisee and their designated operator. That's everything, how to blowtorch a ham, how to make a ham sandwich, everything. From there, you get into a new store opening process, which we have a reimagined process to open new stores enabled by a smart sheet technology. When you get close to your opening day, though, about 7 to 10 days out, we're going to fly a group of folks out there that are specifically trained on how to train your folks and how to set up your store for success right from the get-go. They're going to be there before opening day. We do a soft opening where we really just open the doors. And then those folks are going to stay for a few days. We come back typically and do a grand opening, typically 2 to 3 weeks afterwards, make it a big to-do, and you get further support there. So we really have been very intentional on how we set up stores for success. You never get a second chance to make a first impression with a community.
Yeah. What's the actual staff number that you need, to be able to operate?
Thanks, I missed that one.
Yeah.
No, you're right. So holiday, let's call it 20 to 30.
Okay.
A lot of part-time folks, a lot of seasonal folks. Think about, like my son, college kid on break. During holidays, he needs a job, seasonal job. A lot of those kinds of folks. During the everyday meal period, typically you might say 5 to 7. With maybe a manager as well.
Okay. So the staffing requirements aren't, they're not too heavy, which is good. There's, like I said, everybody stays busy, during the day and everything. What does foot traffic actually look like on a regular day? Do you guys, I'm sure you've tracked this number just on how many customers you might see, not in a non-holiday, let's go with non-holiday period versus the holidays. But if you want to say both, on a typical day, we'll see maybe this many customers, and a holiday, we might see it go up to this.
Right. I don't have a number offhand, but it depends a little bit on the site, right? So some sites, of course, with 440 stores, you're going to see some variability. And in some stores, see a tremendous lunch business, and they'll see a lot of foot traffic. Our new store that I was at in Somerset, Kentucky last week, I was shocked. They had a full house all the way up until close. I was there 5:30, and they had every seat taken. I was a little blown away by that. So it does vary. Holiday, though, one of the things that's consistent with Honey Baked, holiday, these stores are going to be busy. You're going to see a lot of foot traffic. Our busiest day of the year is typically that Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We just finished up with Thanksgiving. We set a record this past holiday for the busiest Thanksgiving in a row. I think that's actually 3 in a row where we've topped previous years. So we're definitely resonating well in America right now for a holiday.
I don't know if you would know this number, but I'm really curious how many hams you guys probably sell just for the whole system, not per store, the whole system, how many hams and how many turkeys actually, you sell every year.
That's so funny you're asking that question, because we just had our PR firm, marketing firm, ask that very question yesterday, and we've got some busy folks in the finance team. They're busy this time of the year too, but I've asked them, hey, help me with some calculations here so we can say.
Yeah, because it's got to be a ridiculous number. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I can't even imagine 400 stores, and then I don't know how many they sell on a daily basis, but, times, the whole year times, wow, it's got to be an insane number. So that part's great. I love, the concept itself. You guys are really, it's a high quality product. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of opportunity here. What makes for you guys the ideal franchisee? What do you guys look for?
Yeah, we'll start with some of the basics like financial qualification for sure. And that's straight off of our website. We ask for a 350 net worth and 100K liquid assets for a single store opportunity, more if you're looking for multi-unit. There's also an operational component that's a big part of it too. The operational food service background is a plus. Previous franchise experience is a plus, but neither are necessarily required. But we're looking for folks that culturally are a good fit for us as well. We are a family-run organization. We like to, when our folks come to Discovery Day, franchise candidates come to Discovery Day, we purposely take them out to dinner. We like to break bread and have a relationship with our candidates.
That's cool.
We like to make sure that, hey, this is, are we going to have a mutually beneficial relationship for really what is a 10-year commitment with 2 5-year options to renew? It's a big decision. It's a long-term decision. We like to make sure that it's a really good fit on both ends of it.
Yeah, I think that's great, because that's something I have not heard a lot of franchises bring up, that they actually go out. It's like, here, like, you're going to be part of this family. Let's get to know each other, and because a lot of the times, it can be, a lot of times you'll meet the owners and stuff, but it's, you're there for training, or you're just going through, you're figuring out the operations. Do you want to be a part of this? So I think making it more personal is definitely beneficial.
Yeah, we absolutely try to. It's a big part of what I do for sure. I help folks make sure that they're comfortable coming to Discovery Day, and then post-Discovery Day as well. And then through site selection, we're going to spend time together, both myself and then, more importantly, our real estate team they're going to fly out. They're going to spend time in the car. They're going to be in your market. Of course, franchisees know their market better than we do. That's part of what franchising is. They typically live in the market that they're inspiring to build a store. So we want to have a good partnership with our franchisees, though, for sure.
Let me ask one last question. When you're trying to get a store open, and you're ready to go, how do you make that big splash in the market? What are some of the efforts from a marketing standpoint that you guys put in so that, I know you said soft opening, and then you go, okay, let's do the actual grand opening.
Sure.
So when we're trying to get the grand opening and as many people in the doors and really knowing about the brand, what are some of the things you do that helps, the franchise needs to do, but the franchisor helps also do?
Sure. A couple bullet points. First and foremost, there is a requirement in our franchise agreement that the franchise needs to spend $10,000 to do a grand opening. So we're very intentional on that. We do that for a reason. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Yeah. We want you to have a big grand opening, make a big deal about it, make a big splash. I would tell you that in the last year, we've partnered with a marketing firm that specializes in grand opening. It's been a home run so far. So one of the things that we do is leverage their know-how, but we also have the franchisee, and we coordinate a series of calls with those two. because we want to know what the franchisee is passionate about and what's
Yeah.
their personal story. What is their, they're the sort of the ambassador of that community and the mayor of that community. So our marketing partner will listen to them and say, what aspects of the community are you most passionate about? Let's see if we can bring that to life in our grand opening. So we've been really fortunate. So our last few grand openings have really been really pretty fantastic.
Well, that's great. Because you're right. One chance, first impression. You want to get it right. Then you've got to get it right, because it's still retail. It's food, and you want to. You're there for 10 years at least. 20, potentially more. So you want to be. You got to put everything into that. That first real day, and then if you get that, first foot, that good foot forward, you're going to be off and running. You're going to be doing well. And that's why you get into franchising. You guys have a great business. Like I say, it's got a great history. And I'm glad you guys are trying to expand the franchise side of things, because, that is a great opportunity for people, where it's a proven business model. It's a wonderful product, because, got to watch it with franchises, probably sampling a little too much, but they say that's why you go into food, really, so you can just have the samples. Well,
you'll never go hungry, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and you'll have the best holiday parties, I guarantee. Everybody will want to show up. Scott, this has been great. How would people, find out more about Honey Baked Ham? Learn about becoming a franchisee?
Well, they would reach out to me, honeybakedfranchise.com. In the upper right-hand corner, it allows you the opportunity to just book time with me. You can get on my calendar. I am more than happy to talk anytime, anywhere to anybody about franchising. I'm just kind of a self-proclaimed franchise nerd. I love the model, but in particular, of course, I'm very lucky to represent a beloved brand, Yelp's words, not ours, a beloved brand in this country, the Honey Baked Ham Company. And then the last thing I'll slide in there, Cash, is, hey, there's never been a better time to look at Honey Baked as a franchise opportunity. We have a royalty incentive program right now, first year free on royalties. So if you any new store commitments, you get your first year with 0 royalties. Our normal rate is 6% of net sales, so first year free. Also, we've got 2 strategic lending partners that have really made it really a fantastic time to take on a note. Now, nobody loves debt, but our lending partners have really made it an easy process, and with some really fantastic rates. And it's part of a growing brand. I mean, Honey Baked, it's a unique opportunity for a 66-year-old company, but also one that's reemerging on a big growth trajectory. So, Cash, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to represent Honey Baked today.
Yeah, it's been great having you on. This has been another episode of Emerging Brands. We've been talking Honey Baked Ham. I'm your host, Cash Miller. I'm also CEO of Titan Media Works. I love talking food. Food is the best in the franchise space, just because, I know where I'm going for lunch. So because we've got a store, and I'm going to end up visiting because I know I need a ham sandwich. It's been great having you, Scott. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.